Shalom, 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 family. This is Elder Yarah coming to you at Solar Vision Debate League live. Nazareth Speaks, YouTube. Man, we just coming here tonight, man, waiting for a few of you guys to fall in. Shout out to Brother G Consciousness. Thank you, brother, for all your help, man, and thank you for your wisdom and your knowledge, brother. Man, we're just gonna get it in, man. We're just gonna go in tonight. And we're going to deal with this thing, man, that's been floating around, Solar Vision Debate League. We got a group of guys, man, and a few people that I'm not going to even really focus on too much tonight. But I'm just going to put some truth out there, man, and drop some knowledge on you brothers and your sisters out there that may be listening. Put your comments in the chat, hit the like button as you come in. Let us know you're listening to us, man. We're going to get this thing in. Read a few scriptures, man. We're going to go on to a few things, read some stuff, bring some things out, man. And we're going to get to the bottom of this thing, man, as much as we can this evening. I'm not going to be before you long, but I just want to drop a little bit on you, man. Come on in. The panel is open, man, to any one of you brothers who want to get on with me, brother, and build. Make this a righteous bill, man, a righteous teaching. And, man, may be edifying to the body of Christ. All praises to the Most High. All praises to His Son, Jesus, for the things that He has done and sacrifice He has made for us. Listen, I'm going to tell you, man, there's a spiritual battle that's going on out here, man. And this thing is becoming more and more evident each day in our communities, man, around the world. If you don't see, man, that something's coming to a head, man, or that the scriptures is true, that this thing is winding up, I know people have been saying, man, this just been said for thousands of years, and they don't see nothing yet, and ain't no man coming back for you, and we waiting on the Savior. Look, we ain't waiting on the Savior, but I'm telling you what this is, what we're doing, because He's already promised us that He's going to return. And when He comes back, man, you better find yourself ready. And don't think that you're going to be able to get away with all this foolishness. Because Paul reminds us that the very elect, man, during these times, man, is going to have a difficult time, man, making a distinction, man, between what's righteousness and what's unrighteousness. And a lot of times, man, we hear a lot of things, man, that confuse us, confuse our people, a lot of things that's deceitfully put out in these airwaves, all over social media. And if you're not built in His word, if you're not keeping your spirit strong and your hearts and your minds guarded, you can very well be fooled by the slight and subtle tricks of the enemy, man. And so what we're going to do is, I had a conversation, a great bill, on the Man Up show on Debate Talk Radio with Brother B.A. Abram, Brother Vinny D, Amon, I believe another sister that was on, can't remember her name right now, I believe Sister Shati, I believe. But man, listen, our discussion was about is Satan a real entity, or is Satan just a spirit? And listen, I'm telling you, These things, this enemy, this Satan, this Hashatan, however you look at it, whether you say it's real or it's a real person or a spirit or whatever you want to call it, but I'm telling you this, it's something there. It's something that's in this world. It's something that fights against the knowledge of Christ. It's something that exalts itself against the knowledge of Christ. Paul clearly talks about this, right? Casting down every evil imagination, every thought that brings itself up against the knowledge of the Hamashiach. So listen, it's some things out here, man, that listen, you can only attribute to demonic spirits and demonic forces out here. And when these things get to talking, a lot of times I get accused a lot of times, or people tell me a lot of times, why don't you let some of these folks talk that you be talking to? And I get it, we be trying to build, but sometimes, man, I see that spirit that's talking through them. I don't really see that person, to be honest with you. Sometimes I see that spirit that's within them. And I believe in taking authority over these demonic spirits and forces. And so when I see these things begin to speak, you know, that thing, that spirit of Christ is raised up in me, man. And I just have to, I don't be trying to hear. I don't give place to the devil. I try to make it my business not to do it. You understand what I'm saying? And so some things just don't set right with me. And it's not about pride. And I talked about this yesterday. It's not just about being prideful, but there's a thing of righteous indignation. And some things that you know that come against the spirit, the Holy Spirit that's within you, and some things that come against the knowledge of Christ. Some of these things, man, if they don't burn your spirit, then something's wrong with you. We got folks on these debate platforms, man. You know, first they New Testament believers, then they Tanakh believers, then they turn to Torah only believers, quote unquote. Now they all off in some other old dark esoteric foolishness. You see what I'm saying? Just tossed to and fro. You see what I'm saying? The scripture tells us a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. You don't know if they coming or they going on these panels and these platforms. You know, they'll tell you they want to keep the law, statutes, and the commandments, but they don't trust in Yahweh. Well, they don't trust in Yah. This is complete foolishness, man. But we're going to deal with some things tonight, man. We're going to get into the topic is El, and we're going to talk about the descriptive name or the description of Elyon. And again, we're going to talk about El and the descriptive name of Elyon, right? So we're going to break this down, right? And there's a few things in here we're going to deal with tonight. We're going to deal with that. We're also going to deal with a little bit, I'm going to touch on, is Yahweh Allah or is Allah El? I've been hearing this floated around, that Allah is El. We're going to deal with this, right? Because some people, when you start looking at these languages and you really don't understand how they come about, it can be confusing. And then you got more than dishonest people, or people who don't really understand and study themselves to show themselves approved, rightly dividing the word of truth. They'll come with some old crazy doctrine of foolishness and teaching and have you confused. We see a lot of that going on right now. So this is what we're going to do tonight. We're just going to get right into this. I'm not going to hold up anymore. And so again, we're going to be dealing with Elyon. Is Allah the same as the El deity in the scripture, or Elyon? We're going to talk about some of these things. We're going to point some of these things out and get into them. So first, Elyon, which means the Most High God, or God Most High. This is pronounced Elyon, or the word Elyon, Elyon, right? First, you have to understand this is an adjective, right? That means elevated, lofty, or supreme. And listen, if we just go back to your grammar school years, and some of y'all in y'all college years, you got to understand what an adjective does. It describes a person, a place, or a thing, right? It's what an adjective does. It describes a person, a place, or a thing. So clearly we see right off the bat that we're establishing here tonight that Elyon is a descriptive term, right? And it means elevated or lofty or supreme. Let's get into the etymology, right? So according to the Strong's Hebrew Dictionary, and I got my notes here, so just please forgive me as I'm reading off of him here. The word Elyon derives from two Hebrew roots. And the second is a root of the first one, right? And so the first root is ill or I or li, or IH or LH. The second one is LY, right? Or L, meaning to go up or to ascend, right? And then the second one is Allah. Now let's be real clear about this, right? It's Allah, and it means to ascend, to be high, or to mount, right? And so we can already see for some of our people out there who claims that Allah is equal to the El God or El in the scriptures, we can see already where the confusion come in. But let's get into it a little bit more, a little bit deeper, really quickly, right? It says, before we discuss the meaning of the name and all its implications, I would like to speak about that root word we just talked about, Allah, right? Which means to ascend, to be high, or be high, or to mount, right? It is the same root word that is used for Islam's Allah. You understand that? And that's obvious, right? It's the same root word, not the same meaning, but it's the same root word, not the same word. It's not the name. It's just the root word, right? And so understandably, this might be a point of concern or contention for some Christians or Messianics to think of Yahweh or Elohim or Adonai or El Shaddai having an association with Islam's false deity. And it is a false deity. But listen, however, it should not be. That's clear. It just should not be. Remember, the El of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, or Israel, is also the El of Abraham, Ishmael, and Esau. Think about that, right? The Most High, or God's covenant promise to Abraham, was to bless his offspring with many descendants, right? And we're going to read from Genesis 12. I have here 2 through 3. And it says, and I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. Verse 3, and I will bless those that bless you, and curse the one who curses you. And in you shall all families of the earth be blessed. Right? So again, we see that El in the scripture is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but he's also the God of Abraham, Ishmael, and Esau. For all of those who get adhere to this false doctrine of who is Esau and the Edomites is the white man and all this, you see clearly in the scripture, clearly, that the God El was their God as well, right? And so, of course, we know the blessings of the families of the earth was fulfilled in the Messiah's propitiatory death on behalf of all the families of the earth, and was sealed and approved by Yahweh in the resurrection, right? So nevertheless, the promise to bless Abraham was originally given with no stated precondition, no stipulated restrictions insisted upon as a condition of the promise, right? So many years later, Yahweh told Abraham that the covenant would be fulfilled through his yet to be born son, Isaac. However, he did not abandon Ishmael, the son of the slave woman, Hagar, but made a similar promise to bless and increase Ishmael. So when you got all of these folks out here that's telling you that God that God hates the Canaanites, or he hates Africa, or Yahweh hates Africa, we clearly see that Hagar was a African herself. She was an Egyptian. And we clearly see that the Most High, we clearly see Yahweh still makes a promise to her and her seed, Ishmael. And so we clearly see that a lot of times we hear people talk about, well, the God of Israel or Yahweh, he hates Africans. We can go all through this book, from the Old Testament to the New Testament, and we can show clearly how the Most High God of Israel, how Yahweh blessed the African nations. It's clear. So people will come in and they'll try to, get you to throw the whole book away because they want to preach to you a lie that is anti-African. But we see clearly here from the beginning that he's blessing the seed of the African slave woman. And she wasn't made a slave by Abraham. She was given to him as a slave from Africa. And so we had this whole thing about, well, Africans never enslaved other Africans. Well, we know that to be folly. Every nation of people has enslaved another nation of people. You can't name me one nation of people or one quote unquote race of people that hasn't been enslaved. So we have to understand when we're listening to these people talk, that they're not coming from a point of truth, a basis of truth, a foundation of truth. They're only here to incite your emotions and your feelings to take you away from the truth of what the scripture actually has to say. Right? And so again, we see Yahweh blessing the seed of Abraham, not just Isaac, but also Ishmael, the son of Hagar, an African woman, right? Let's read Genesis 17, 19, verse through 21. It says, then God, and there it says El, right? Then God, or El, said, yes, but your wife Sarah will bear you a son, and you will call him Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him. Verse 20, look what it says, Genesis 17 to 20. It says, and as for Ishmael, excuse me, I have heard you. I will surely bless him. I will make him fruitful and will greatly increase his numbers. He will be the father of 12 rulers, and I will make him into a great nation. But my covenant I will establish with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you by this time next year. So clearly we see, again, I said this before to someone about the Most High is in the blessing business, right? And so he has no problem with blessing those that are innocent. He does not hold the innocent, right? He does not hold the innocent guilty for those who have committed sins, or for those who have tried to go around the Most High's will, as we see Abraham and Sarah did by bringing Hagar into Abraham, which is how Ishmael came about. But you see, the Most High yet blessed this child and blessed the mother, Hagar, as well. And so let's get into this. Hold on, let me bring this back up. All right. I think you in Orthodox more.
You just promote to panelists. You click on them and then you put promote to panelists.
Yeah, I think I did. I think I got it. I think I got it.
Yeah, you got me. I'm good. I'm on mute.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I want to make sure I got you in, brother.
Gratitude, brother. Good build.
Yeah, let me get back what I was bringing out here really quick. Shut it up. But definitely, man, we definitely want to build, man, and keep this thing going. So again, it says, I will make the son of the slave into a nation also, because he is your offspring, right? Genesis 21 through 13. So, right. So here we go. So the questions then become, are Yahweh and El the same God or different gods? Can Yahweh have any association with Allah? Is Allah the same as Yahweh? So let's look at two key verses that assist in answering this seeming paradox we have here, right? So when Abraham was 90 years old, the Lord, or Yahweh, appeared to him and said, I am God, El Almighty, or El Shaddai. Walk before me faithfully and be blameless. This is Genesis 17 and 1. And clearly, what do we see here? This is very interesting because I've been hearing this conversation going on and going around before, especially in some of the chats today in the last couple of days. Where can we show Yahweh being referred to as El? Well, let's look at Genesis 17 and 1 again. It says, when Abraham was 99 years old, the Lord, Yahweh, appeared to him and said, what? I am El Shaddai. I am God Almighty. Walk before me faithfully in what? And be blameless. Genesis 17 and 1. Let's go to verse 2. And Elohim, or God, said to Moses, I am the Lord Yahweh. Let's go my third scripture here. It says, I appeared to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob as God El, or God Almighty, or El Shaddai. But by my name, the Lord, or but by my name, Yahweh, I did not make myself fully known to them. This is Exodus 6, 2 through 3. And again, we have to understand what we see here when we see Shaddai. We see El as God. We clearly see this. Same thing with Elyon, right? We see El as God. Then we see the descriptive term, or descriptive nature, Elyon, which is supreme, or the most high, or set above, or is above, because he's not set above, he is the highest, the most highest, right? Then we see, again here in Genesis 17 and 1, we see Yahweh clearly being referred to as El Shaddai, or God Almighty. Are we starting to get a clearer picture here? When we're talking about Elyon and these different descriptive names and terms? So listen, and again, as I read through my notes, recall that even though Moses used Yahweh's distinctive name in his narrative about Abraham, he made it clear that Abraham knew God as El. Now listen to this, not as Yahweh. Now listen to this. This is crucial here, because this is where of course the argument lies, right? That we've been hearing the last couple of days, right? So true, the verses do suggest an identification between Yahweh and El Shaddai, and thus by inference, an identification between Yahweh and Allah. However, they acknowledge a more definite and distinctive connection between El the God of the patriarchs, and Yahweh, the God of the Mosaic era. Clearly, what the verses tells us is that even though they did not know it at the time, the patriarchs, Abraham and his descendants, who worshiped El in the past were actually worshiping Yahweh, even though they did yet not know him by that name. It's clear in the text, people. It is clear, even more clear, therefore, that until Yahweh revealed his distinctive name to Moses, and he chose Israel as his own in fulfillment of the covenant he made with Abraham, all of Abraham's descendants worshiped El. This would include those who went on to worship Allah. So in other words, although they started out worshiping the same El, it was Israel alone to whom Yahweh revealed himself, whom he charged with making his name known, and through whom all the families of the earth have been blessed. Thus, to answer the questions posed earlier, are Yahweh and El the same God or different gods? He is the same God, the God of the patriarchs, El Shaddai. Later revealed his distinctive name, Yahweh, to Moses. We see this working of one, this same. Can Yahweh have any association with Allah? Only in the sense that Yahweh is El, but El is not Allah. Is Allah the same as Yahweh? No, emphatically not. The El whom the patriarchs worship told Moses that his personal distinctive name is Yahweh, not Allah. And Yahweh's covenant promise was fulfilled in Isaac's descendants, not Ishmael's. Why is this being said? Why am I saying this? Right? Because we know that it's out of Ishmael that we have the birthing, or we have the line that we later on get, or we later on get the Prophet Muhammad comes through. This is clear and evident, right? We go on. How is Elyon used in scripture? Right? This is very important, very key to a lot of the conversations and a lot of things we've been hearing over the past couple of weeks, and a lot of the confusion, right? How is Elyon used in scripture? We're going to deal with this, right? In each case in which the adjective, do you understand? The adjective occurs, it denotes that which is highest or uppermost. It is used to describe. I broke this etymology down when we first started the show. The height of objects or places. The high Elyon places is talked about in 2 Kings 15 and 35. Let's read, right? The high Elyon places, however, were not removed. The people continued to offer sacrifices and burn incense there. Jotham rebuilt the upper gate of the temple of Yahweh. This is 2 Kings 15 and 35. We see Elyon being used as what? High, meaning high. Again, it's an adjective, people. And we run around, folks talking about, hey, worship Elyon. You're talking about El. That's all you saying. Elyon is not the proper name. This is clear in the scripture. And I know you're reading it, and I know you see it. So you either you're being deceitful purposely, or you simply just can't comprehend what it is you're reading, and you're not studying. See, you can read words off of a page, but that doesn't listen. Let me tell you something. I worked for children for a few years in Department of Children and Family Services, right? And a lot of times I would have to go into the schools and assist young men and young women. And so they would do this thing, what they call the individualized education plan, or IEP, right? And sometimes what I would come to find out is that you can have a person that can actually repeat or read the words to you on a page and read it very well. But if you ask them, what is it talking about? They can't tell you. So reading is just not reciting. It's also comprehension. And we got a lot of folks reciting, but they're not comprehending what it is that they're reading. And that takes study and meditation. You just can't crack open this book. Listen, some of this, to properly get an understanding of some of these scriptural texts that we're reading and how this thing is broken down. Listen, this is almost university level work and study that's required here to get a clear understanding of what it is that you're reading. Because these people that were writing these books and these chapters and these verses, they weren't writing so that a 2-year-old can understand it. And that's just the facts. That's why people have a difficulty with Paul. Because Paul, during his day, was a very well-educated man. He would have had the equivalent of what we consider today a PhD, a doctorate. So he's not writing so a 2-year-old can understand what he's writing. It's not what he's doing. And so when you crack this book open and you try to get into this information and you read some words off a page, and then you think you got it, but you walking away with no comprehension, not rightly dividing the scripture, not going outside of the scriptures to understand the culture of the time, to put things in its proper context. You're not studying the language. I'm not saying you have to speak the language fluently, but there's enough source material, there's enough material out here that you can understand what it is rightfully and put things in its proper context. I'm not one that gets caught up in you have to speak you got to speak the Hebrew. You should be able to learn how to speak the language. I don't knock that. And I don't disagree with that on a certain level. But what I'm saying is this: it should not hamper or hinder your study. Right? And so you got a lot of folks out here that'll argue about that, but some of y'all, you think you're speaking English. But none of us, is quote unquote, as we used to say in the schools, none of us speaks the King's English. So I don't care how much Hebrew or Lashawan you're studying, you'll never sound like how they sound. One thousand BCE, 950 BCE, 800 BCE, 700 BCE, 500 BCE, 1st century AD. You're not going to sound like them. They wouldn't understand a bit of your Hebrew. Can guarantee you that. But it shouldn't stop you from getting a clear understanding. Now, I'm saying don't study. I'm studying myself to become fluent in the language so that I can teach the language from the book, because that's what we have closely written from, right? But it's not a knock on anyone who does. So what I'm saying is this: look, this thing isn't written for this ain't comic book reading. It's just not. It's not comic book reading. And another thing I heard somebody say the other day, some people like to say, well, if the New Testament or whatever that comic book. Well, here's the difference between a comic book and a New Testament scripture, really simply, right? See, I know the author that created Superman and Batman. I know the Stan Lee, when he created those Marvel comic characters. We know that from his own mouth and his own testimony that these things were written out of his imagination, that these characters were not true, or these characters were not real. But when you read the New Testament scriptures, in the Tanakh and the Old Testament scriptures, these people were writing from what they saw, from what they heard, from what they lived, from what they believed to be true. Stan Lee wrote a lot of stuff about the Incredible Hulk, but he never believed the Incredible Hulk was true. But he did believe there were some people that can, in certain circumstances could exhibit superhuman strength. Or do things other ordinary, that was not so ordinary to other people at times. But we know he was a fiction writer, right? So let me move on. So the king of Assyria, and I'm reading from 2 Kings chapter 18, verse 17. We're talking about Elyon being used in the scripture as a description, in the descriptive context, right? The king of Assyria sent his supreme commander, his chief officer, and his field commander with a large army from Lachish to King Hezekiah at Jerusalem. They came up Allah. What does that mean? It means they came up to a high place, or they came up Allah to Jerusalem and stopped at the aqueduct of the upper pool. Now look, that word in the Hebrew right there, that upper, it's Elyon. It means the highest point or the highest pool. On the road to the washerman's field. So we see Elyon, 2 Kings 15 and 35, 2 Kings 18 and 17, being used as a descriptive term, simply meaning the highest or uppermost. Let's look at another point. We talked about Elyon as the height of objects or places. I told you an adjective described a person, place, or thing. And so we just read verses where Elyon was used to describe things, or objects, or places. So clearly an adjective. Now the prominence or high position of persons, let's look at that. Psalms 89 and 27 says, and I will appoint him to be my firstborn. Listen to this. The most exalted, or the most Elyon of the kings of the earth. Psalms 89 and 27. So when you're running around here talking about Elyon, I wish Elyon, what are you saying? You have no clue what you're saying, or you wouldn't be saying it. The prominence of elevated ranking of Yahweh placed on Israel as a nation. Let's look at that. Deuteronomy 26:19. He has declared that he will set you in praise, fame, and honor high above, or what? He says, I will set you in praise, fame, and honor, Elyon. High above all nations. In what way? In prominence, in elevated ranking. Above all nations, he has made, and that you will be a people holy to who? Yahweh. Who? Your God. Who? Elohim. So here again, we see Yahweh again in conjunction with El or Elohim, as he promised. Deuteronomy 26:19. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28:1. If you fully obey the Lord or Yahweh, here we go again. Your God Elohim. We go again, and carefully follow all the commands I give you today. The Lord Yahweh, your God Elohim, will set you high. What? Will set you what? Elyon. He said, I'll make you Elyon. And y'all running around talking about I serve Elyon, but I don't serve Yahweh. You got to be kidding me. But you claim to be Torah teachers or Tanakh believers. What are you reading? A whole lot, but you're not comprehending. So when we clearly see the word Elyon being used in the scripture over and over and over and over again as what it is, a descriptive term, not a name. Not a name, people, a descriptive term, right? So look, when applied to Yahweh, the covenant keeping El, listen, the name Elyon stresses his highest supremacy above all other gods who dare call themselves gods. Did y'all hear that? When applied to Yahweh, or YHWH, the covenant keeping El, I'm still waiting to hear about the covenant keeping El of the Canaanites. What covenant, what blessings, what promises did your Canaanite God give to you? I haven't heard that yet.
I ain't going.
I don't know nobody. I don't know anybody who follows around the deadbeat dad. Because your Canaanite God ain't got nothing for you. You want to say something, Gideon?
Nah, bro, I'm just listening, man, and you definitely, bringing forward the information and just bringing it to just a simple understanding of it, something that they don't even much do. They just, conflate a lot of stuff together. But it's good that, you definitely bringing forward the information like all us been trying to do, So hallelujah for that.
Yeah, hallelujah, man. I've been seeing you on the battlefield, brother, and bringing that information, man. And look, listen, look, I understand. Some folks say, it ain't, some things ain't up for debate. And why debate it? And it don't make any sense. Well, listen, man. Hamashia teaches us. He say, look, those who are well don't need a physician.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So if you all right and you doing good, don't worry about it. This ain't for you.
Right.
If you put this thing down, that ain't for you. But there's some folks out here that's struggling in their faith. It's some folks out here that's struggling in their walk. And maybe if somebody would have did this for some of them other guys,
Right.
they wouldn't have stumbled and fell down in their walk.
Right.
Brother Elder, would you mind potentially keeping me from potentially stumbling?
Say that again.
Would you mind helping me from potentially stumbling?
Man, listen. Listen. I am open. I'm open to anyone who wants to hear. That's all of our job. You as my brother. Listen, I don't get into all of this foolishness about who's not my brother. I'll tell you where people separate themselves. When I start hearing more say throw away the book and all this doesn't mean this and it don't mean that, then I have a difficulty with calling you my brother. Because see, now we just not brothers, but you see what I'm saying? Now I'm just not just your brother in flesh and blood. See, I'm your brother in spirit.
Right. So did you see my video that I put up about the MOC versus the ROC, the Canaanite Confederacy, etc.?
Yeah, I looked at it a little bit. I didn't do it all the way through the end.
Oh yeah, and just real quick, in that video, I clarify my difference with the ROC in the sense I say don't put down the book. I say pick up your book and go home with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Because I think it might have been you. I'm not sure if it was. I think it might have been you, or it could have been G-Con. But if you're telling me to throw the book down, but you're giving me nothing to replace it with, that is proven to do us better, that's chaos and confusion.
100%.
You see what I'm saying?
No, I agree with that 100%.
So listen, brother, I would never tell people to put down the Quran. You know why? Because it speaks highly of the Torah. Why would I do that?
Yeah, I have a question if I can. Peace to the people on the panel and the people listening. You just said something that was kind of interesting. You said that you wouldn't tell people to put something down if you had nothing to replace it with.
Yeah, nothing better to replace it with. Yeah.
Yeah, what's kind of explain that a little bit to me, because if I'm telling you to put something down, it's for a reason, not to pick something back up that's gonna put you back into, a mindless, thoughtless, cheap mode. So why would I want to replace?
That's a great question.
Why would I?
Well, you would have to. First you would have to believe.
Wait. Let me just finish my question. I'm almost done. Why would I want to take away something from you that I think that's harming you, only to put something back in your hand that could potentially harm you?
Well, see,
can I take a quick crack at that, Brother Elder? Is that cool?
Yeah, go ahead. Go right ahead. Absolutely.
So Cube, I don't know if you've had the misfortune or the real life experience of knowing drug addicts, but I've happened to know a lot in my life, right? And so one thing I know is that if I take a drug addict to rehab, they're not going to just 100% make them get off of a drug without replacing it with something to make it easier for their nervous system to go through the withdrawals, right? It's not going to be the drug that they're trying to kick, but it's going to be something that weans them off, right? It's a weaning process, right? Otherwise, there's certain situations where the withdrawals could actually kill somebody. You see what I'm saying? Like it's chaotic. It's having somebody do something, quit something cold turkey is extremely chaotic, right? If I care about the individual, there's healthier ways of going about that concept. And I'll just lay out that premise like that.
All right, cool. So basically, what we're saying is, when we put it into context and using that concept, what we're saying is you're taking a person off of drugs, but you're giving them something momentarily until they don't need anything in their hands. Just using the concept you just used. So now when we're talking about the Bible, and if I'm saying put down the Bible, but let's put something else in your hand, We're only going to put that into your hand momentarily until you can think for yourself and no longer need a Bible. So
No, not at all.
wait. Yes, that's exactly what you
No.
did. Yes.
Look at the example. So I said, if I take someone to rehab, so the point of taking someone to rehab is to rehabilitate the person, correct?
Right.
Not to momentarily satiate something, right? Not momentarily satiate. That's why I said the beginning process is a weaning process, right? You don't just so the process of rehabilitation is you don't start with cold turkey. That's chaotic, is what I'm saying. Do you understand the concept?
I totally understand the concept, but you must have misunderstood what I said. So let's go back to your analogy. Once you take a person to rehab, they're attempting to remove the drug, but what are they giving them in place of the drug?
Medicine.
Right. Yeah. So let me
hold
on. Let me
medicine.
Yeah, and that's a perfect point right there.
Yeah, but that medicine is not going to be for the rest of their life.
Hold on 1 second though, brother. You don't know. Some people are on medication.
You don't need medicine for the rest of your life. You only need medicine when you're sick.
Exactly. Listen to what I'm saying, brother. Listen to what I'm saying.
Go ahead.
Your premise, your whole premise though, Q, is based on your idea or your belief that what I'm telling you not to put down is bad for you in the first place, right? So what I'm telling you is that the word of the Lord is not bad for you. It's not bad for you. Listen, the scripture tells us that, again, as I brought out earlier, that Christ says listen, if you're sick, you need a physician, but if you're well, you don't need a physician. You don't need a doctor. You understand what he's saying there? He's saying, look, it's listen, if you need, if there's something in your life, and see, here's the thing about those who get on drugs. Drugs is not something that people pick up because that's what they choose, right? Drugs is something that they use to escape a real life situation.
That's not true.
It's very true. Very true.
So explain the millionaire who back in the 80s or the late 70s who picked up crack or started doing coke. Do
you think money is? Do you think money? Listen, Biggie said, "Look, more money, more problems."
Yeah, but that was a rap song, and I'm talking about real life,
truth, brother.
He also said that he wanted to kill himself, and I was
it's the truth, though. You understand what I'm saying? If you think money equates to happiness, then you on the wrong road to life in the first place.
That's not what I was doing. I was just giving you a simple
example. But you said, what about the guy that had all this money? How come he picked up drugs? Do you think because he has money, he doesn't have any issues in life?
Okay, but see, it's twofold. You went to the millionaire.
You're a millionaire.
Hold on, listen.
Okay, Q. Lawrence Taylor broke in the NFL when he started doing drugs.
Hold on, brother. I'm building with the brother. So when I brought up the millionaire who started doing coke, you brought up the millionaire who was possibly having problems in his life. Now I'm talking about the millionaire who was doing it at parties and having a good time and end up getting caught up in it. That's what I was talking about. But
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't take away from the reason why you think people just do. Listen, Q. People do drugs to escape.
That's not true. Not everybody does. Right? I used to smoke weed.
Listen, let me tell you something.
I wasn't trying to escape from anything. I was trying to have
let me tell you something right now. I don't care if you're doing anything that's taking you out of your sober mind, brother. Your sober mind. I don't care if you smoke weed, how much you smoke weed. I don't care if you drink a liter of grain alcohol a day. I don't care if you snort a ton of coke. If you smoke up a ball. Listen, it's to escape something in your life, brother. That's the only reason. Now you can try to sit up here and fool yourself into thinking, oh, people just do drugs because it's fun to do. When you sniff cocaine, when you got money, and when you're a millionaire and you sniffing cocaine up your brain because you think you just having a good time, knowing that it can kill you in an instant.
Okay, but see,
No, it's not okay, brother.
No,
It's
no,
not
no.
okay.
I'm not saying it's okay. I was talking about my personal experience. Hold on. I was talking about my personal experience, and I was saying that I used to smoke weed because just to have a good time. That's what people were doing, and I grew out
You
of that.
need to tell me this is what I'm saying to you, Q.
Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out so you can
Wait a
understand.
minute. You
Hear
don't
me
think
out so you
it's
can
a problem?
understand.
No, brother. Hold on one second. I'm talking. Do you
Yeah, but I
think?
was talking and you cut me off.
Hold on. This is my show, so let's
Yeah,
chill.
I gotta stop with that my show shit.
No, bro. I'm not gonna kick you off. I don't have to stop with nothing. I open up the panel so you can come on. If I didn't want
Why would you cut me off? Why would you cut me off in the middle of what I was saying?
I'm talking right now because I know you and you'll go on, and I gotta get through it. So I'm gonna answer you, and we're gonna move on. Okay. So what I'm saying to you is, if you think anybody for 1 second, right, thinks that they have to do drugs, or they say they have to do drugs or take any type of controlled substance in order to have a good time or just to enhance a good time, there's something wrong there.
No, it's not. And
Well,
I'll give you
there's something wrong.
Listen, bro, hear me out. I was
listen, if you can't have a good time and get just as euphoric walking down the street, watching creation, watching nature, reading a book,
it gives you a different feeling, dog. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
And I know it gives you a different feeling. It gives you a different feeling that's not of this world.
Okay, but that's what I'm trying to tell you.
You know what that is? You know what that is called, Q? Escapism.
No, brother, you're missing the point.
Yeah.
Listen, let me
called
just say
escapism.
this.
Make this your last point, and then we're gonna move on.
All right. All I was trying to say was I was pointing to myself and giving a personal experience of mine. When I was younger, I was smoking weed to have a good time. And then I got to the point to where I no longer like that feeling anymore. So I stopped doing it. Period. That's all I wanted to say. So no, you can't look at everybody and say that they
Oh, yes, I can, Q.
Let me ask you about this.
What's the reason you smoking weed? What was the reason why you started smoking weed?
You can't let me, bro? Why you can't let me finish? I want to answer.
Listen, Q. Listen. I'm gonna tell you how this goes, right? I'll tell you how this goes.
You cut people off in the middle of their talking, and you say it's your show. That's how it goes.
Listen, it can go that way if that's how you like it, Q.
But
so
why?
I'm asking you right now. I'm not finna engage in you with this tonight, brother. I'm just not. So I'm gonna say this.
May I ask Cuba a return fire question just to gain some clarity?
Yeah, I'm gonna say this.
Just to gain some clarity. So when you stop smoking weed, right?
Mm-hmm.
You said it had the issue is what?
And I never got to that point. I just wanted to finish what I was saying. The reason I stopped smoking because I no longer like the feeling anymore. So
right. That was the question right there. So you said you smoked weed to have a good time, and at one point you were smoking weed, and so basically you weren't having a good time when you smoked weed, right? What was the change?
Well, the change was me. I didn't want to do it anymore. Simple as that. I was no longer around the crowd. You know what I'm saying? Who did the shit like that? You know what I'm saying? So I said I don't want to do it anymore. I no longer like that feeling of being lazy and dumbed out. So I stopped doing it. It wasn't because I was trying to escape from something or trying to reattach myself.
So you no longer needed weed to have a good time, is what you're saying.
So basically, you didn't want to feel like Rob, like super dumb. And
no.
No, but that goes right into what the elder was saying. You understand? Because he was saying the only reason that a sober-minded person would want to do that would be because they're escaping something. And you said and you kind of like echoed his point if you understand what he was saying. That he was saying that if that you said that you got to the point where it was no longer giving you a good time, right? You didn't need it for a good time, so you stopped doing it. You went back to a sober mind.
No, it was no longer fun for me anymore. Not that it didn't give me a good time. It was no longer fun for me. It was a phase for me.
Nah, I definitely see what Cube's saying, but what Elder Yarah is saying, you know what I'm saying? But what Yarah is saying, like, is pretty much correct. But you can't say, you can probably say like 90% of people who use drugs. Because
and that's fine, and I don't have a problem with him saying that. But you can't say everybody, because I'm one of the people.
Listen, I can
Hey, y'all don't go nowhere. I got to dip. I'll be back in like a half hour.
Okay, no
All
problem.
right.
So listen, the reason why you can say everyone is because this, brother. Anything that takes you out of your natural state of being or natural state of mind is escapism. It doesn't matter why you're doing
yeah,
it.
it's definitely escapism.
It doesn't
Okay,
matter
so
why you're doing it.
let's say I agree with you. Let's say I agree with you. So do you read the Bible to escape from this world, to just to think that God is coming back for you? Is that why you read the Bible, to
Listen,
escape
Scripture
from
tells
this
me.
world?
Listen to me, brother. The Scripture tells me clearly, I am in this world, but not of this world.
That's not what I asked you. I said the reason that you read the Bible is to
Answer, brother.
escape.
This Bible is not an escape, because this Bible I apply to everything in my life daily.
But that Bible is okay. Then that would make it a drug.
Listen. If there's principles in this Bible, listen. This Bible teaches me about how to handle my finances. It teaches me how to deal with my wife. It teaches me how to raise my children. It teaches me how to be prosperous in business. It teaches me how to watch my health. It teaches me how to listen. It teaches me how to worship my Creator. It teaches me how to be humble. It teaches me how to stand up and be a man in a world when that's being attacked. It teaches me how not to be a victim when everybody wants you to read Deuteronomy 28 and all they want to pull out is the curses and not the blessings. It teaches me to be able to stand on my own feet. It teaches me that it doesn't matter what goes on in this world, that I am more than a conqueror. Do you understand?
That's like escapism to me, because in this world where it teaches you all
Q, this is what he said. So Q, okay, you being an atheist, those categories that he just broken down as far as health, finances, social living, interaction with your brothers and your sisters, how to conduct yourself, how to keep yourself hygienically clean. Like what is beating the Torah for that? Even just say for instance, even like you don't want to believe in the God of the Torah.
Okay, that's simple.
What is laid down? Go ahead.
Listen, I can go see a financial advisor if I want to know about finances. If I want to know how to
financial advisors like a Bernie Madoff.
Hold on, I'm answering your question, brother. If I want to know about finances, I can go see a financial advisor, or I can take.
Or if you want to go pro black, you can go to Butch Adams. He used to advise Tracy McGrady.
Hey, let the brother talk, man.
With everything he mentioned, he didn't even mention that it doesn't teach to not cut people off when they're speaking.
Hey, it's something wrong with your mic too, brother. So you might have to fix. Is it my mic or one of y'all mics? Somebody's mic is something. Well, let me listen on the thing. Go ahead.
Yeah. So now, if I want to know about finances, I could take a course on it at a college, or I can, get a financial advisor. If I want to know about business, same thing. If I want to know about cleanliness, same thing. I can take a course, on health. You see what I'm saying? What else you like? If I want to know about being a man, I can go talk to a man. You see what I'm saying? A real life man who has been living and has kids and has been a man. All of these things don't necessarily have to be found in this Bible. You see what I'm saying? So that's simple.
Okay, but they are. And because if they are, if you ascribe to those things, why would you say that this thing leads to someone to be mindless or brainless when the same things that you're chasing after outside this book you claim that you can find is in this book?
Because the overarching thing is that it's teaching you that somebody is coming back to save you.
That has nothing. That has nothing.
Let me finish. Let me finish.
That has nothing to do with what I asked you.
It does. I'm trying to tell you. You won't let me finish.
You're talking about what you're talking about. We're talking about natural living, things that help you in your life every day. And you know what your argument is to try to still conflate it is you want to rush to dogma. See, that's a fallacious argument. I asked you, we talking about how to handle your taxes in this world.
And I gave you answers.
Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Pay your freaking taxes.
I gave you answers. And I don't think I'm trying to.
What you gave me answers, but when we asked you directly, you tried to rush to dogma.
No.
That's what you did, brother. Yes, you did. That's what does Christ coming back have to do with how you treat your neighbor? You
Because
who is atheist.
because you were asking me the problems with the book, and I said the overarching.
I didn't ask you any problems with the book.
It's your mic, brother. I listened to it on YouTube. I don't know if you covered up the mic, but you might want to uncover it. But go ahead though, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't ask you.
I'll switch my mic.
Yeah, and I'm gonna move on after this, Cube. I didn't ask you what was wrong.
Yeah, you go ahead and move on now. It's fine. Go ahead and move on now. I'm good.
Yeah, I didn't ask you what's moving on with the book, but I do appreciate your comment, man. You always for a good conversation, good exchange. So, but you welcome. I don't kick people off, Cube. So
yeah, we you know, go ahead.
I don't kick people off.
But you do interrupt though.
I mean, listen, we're having an exchange, so you know, I'll let you get it out. But I don't kick people off panels. But anyway, so let me get back to what I was saying. Let me finish this lesson, go through this really quickly, and y'all brothers feel free, you know, to chime in. So when applied to Yahweh, the covenant-keeping El, the name Elyon, stresses his high supremacy above all other gods who dare call themselves gods. When the two names El, listen, El and Elyon are combined, the resultant name can be literally translated as the extremely exalted, mighty, highest God. That's it. These things are descriptions. Extremely exalted, mighty, highest God. These things are descriptive. Simple as that. Let's go to the scripture. Psalms 57, verse 2. I cry out to God, or Elohim, most high, Elyon, to God, El, who what? Who vindicates me. Right? He is stronger than the strongest force, higher than the highest power, the answer to every question, the superlative, all-encompassing, all-surpassing God. This is what this is. You know, listen, the brother was bringing up some interesting points, but listen, brother, a lot of us walk around here, we confused. We need more answers than we have questions. But the scripture clearly tells us if any man lack wisdom, let him ask of the Most High.
Yeah, give it abundantly.
Abundantly. You understand? And so a lot of times we're walking around, man, we don't know what to do. We got situations with our families. We don't know how to handle them. We need wisdom. See, you can have knowledge. And this is another thing. You got folks talking about, oh, I read this book and I read that book. Listen, and I'm an avid reader. Right? And folks say you can have this book. You can have, I got this book and I read this and I'm reading this and I got this. Let me let DJ Black chime in. So I'm reading this and reading that. But you can have knowledge and not have wisdom. See, wisdom is what you do with your knowledge. Wisdom is what you do with your knowledge. You know? And a lot of times we walking around here and we don't have any wisdom. We book smart. You got some of us in the scriptures. We know the scripture. We ain't got no wisdom. You know? Isn't the scripture said wisdom is the principal thing?
Fact. That's a fact.
You know? You need wisdom out here, man. Wisdom will tell you what you need. It'll tell you how to handle your loved ones, how to handle your girl, how to handle your baby mama the right way. You know? You know? We need wisdom, man.
I got another question.
Let's get to it. Yeah, go ahead. Then I'm gonna get lesson. What you got?
Oh no, go ahead, finish it with your lesson. I can hold off. It's cool.
All right. So how often does the single name Elyon appear in scripture? Did I read through that one? No, the single name Elyon. The name Elyon in reference to Yahweh appears in the scriptures 34 times, many in poetic passages, especially in the Psalms. It also appears once in Moses' final song that he recited to the whole assembly of Israel after Yahweh had refused to allow him to enter the promised land. Deuteronomy 32:8. When the Most High Elyon gave the nations their inheritance, when he divided all mankind, he set up boundaries or the people according to the number of the sons of Israel. You had a lot of confusion. Folks try to establish a whole doctrine off this verse, a whole belief system. Other Old Testament passages that use the single name Elyon in reference to Yahweh, sometimes as a separate name parallel to El, include, listen to this, Numbers 24 in verse 16, the prophecy of one who hears the words of God, El, who has knowledge from the Most High, Elyon, who sees a vision from the Almighty, El Shaddai, who falls prostrate, whose eyes are open. 2 Samuel 22:14, listen to this. The Lord Yahweh thundered from heaven, the voice of the Most High, what? Elyon resounded. But they'll argue up and down, show me where Yahweh and El, or Yahweh calls himself El, or refers to himself as El.
That should be the end of the debate, but
what we debating over, Gideon? What's the debate?
Oh, with stiff-neckedness, bro. Stiff-neckedness. You know.
What's the debate, man?
What's the debate is why is Moors hanging around Canaanites when,
Man,
according to the scriptures, Allah said, "Is no gods besides me," but Moor choose to run around with a whole bunch of Canaanite priests worshiping Molech, saying they Melchizedek and all type of foolishness.
man, come on, man.
Just combobulated in the mind, bro.
Man, confused. God is not the author of confusion. He's not. He's not. Let me read that 2 Samuel 22:14 again. That's a head crack right there. For all this food.
That's a body bag right there.
The Lord Yahweh thundered from heaven. The voice of the Most High Elyon resounded. Let's go to Psalm 7. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, and I think the brother, and I'm not like, you know, harping on the brother more, because I got love for the brother. I love the brother, you hear me? But long as he, you know, that's the thing I think he said. He said, show him where Yahweh and Elyon is together in you know, in the scripture. I guess he didn't see those two scriptures you just read. So but yeah, continue, Elder, handle your business.
Yeah. So let's get into it. So again, so let's go to Psalm, Telahim, let's go to Psalm 7 and 17. I will give thanks to the Lord, or Yahweh, because of his righteousness, and I will sing the praises, listen to this, of the name of the Lord Yahweh Most High Elyon. What is his name?
Yahweh.
Elyon.
So that pretty much take care of, you know.
Man, what these Pebble Beach boys talking about? Nothing.
So I know you got in the bag some verses that says Yahweh created the universe, because that's another thing those brothers harp on, that, you know, Elyon, he possessed the heavens and the earth. Yahweh just possessed the earth. So you know, that'll be something that them brothers can study up on and look upon, you know. So I know you've been bringing that forward all night, man. But
hey, listen, hey, look, bro, look. Sometimes, man, enough is enough. You understand what I'm saying? Sometimes just enough is enough, man. It's like sometimes, you know, like, you know, you got a little kid and he just doing stuff all day long. Your mama been telling you to stop. Daddy been at work all day. Mama been telling you to stop all day.
right.
Sometimes he just got, hey, look, enough is enough.
Right.
And if your mom was like my mom, she wouldn't wait for daddy to get home. That'll just be your second round. You got coming when daddy get home.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
You had a strong cup of wisdom.
Exactly.
I'm a I self admit it. I'm a self admitted mama's boy. She her wisdom was a little sweet, you know, and she I'm a mama's boy. I can't front, but my
Hey,
dad he definitely he showed me how to how to be a man, and
so,
he taught me like and
yeah,
that's all I can do. But that's where I get the love in my heart from my mom, so
yeah, yeah, man.
I don't have much fun on that.
Right. Hey, man, shout out to the fathers out here, man. And, man, even bigger shout out to the mothers out here and single mothers out here doing it, man.
Yeah,
Peace be upon you. Blessings to your house, peace
yeah.
in your home. Blessings on your children. So, but yeah, man. So let's look. Psalms 83 and 18. Let them know that you, whose name is the Lord Yahweh,
Yahweh.
you alone, listen to what it said, that you alone are the most high, Elyon, over all the earth. I don't know what the debate is about.
Right. Really
Psalms
don't.
91. Go ahead, brother.
No, I just say I really don't. I don't know myself.
I don't know what the debate is about. Psalms 91 and 1. Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High Elyon will rest in the shadow of the Almighty, of the El Shaddai. Psalms 91.
That's Abraham God, right? Who they
In
say
the Abraham's God?
right. They say that ain't Yahweh.
Come on, man.
That's Yahweh. Yeah, man. It's been a while since I had to go back to third grade understanding, but I ain't trying to beat up on these brothers who understand it. Like, so it'd be kind of hard for me to.
Boy, you a fool, man. But I'm gonna mute my mic, though. Go ahead, bro.
But yeah, man, I don't even know.
Go ahead, y'all. Go
What
ahead,
they
y'all.
going on, man. It says for you, this Psalms 97 and 97 and 9. It says for you, Lord, or Yahweh. Well, come on, man. You shouldn't even be doing it. Are the most high Elyon over all the earth. And what does it say? You are exalted far above all Elohim.
Hmm.
What
So
are
if Elyon is not Yahweh, we all say he's an Elohim.
come
So this is saying that Yahweh is above all Elohim. So
all Elohim.
right, one, yeah.
What we debating about, brother? What they got an issue with? I'm gonna tell you what they got an issue with. They got an issue with these scriptures.
Right, right.
Because it ain't they understanding, because I know they read.
What it is, but they not dedicated to the Torah,
Yeah,
and
nothing.
they want to jump in that water, and them scriptures is hitting them in the face because they like dealing with these messianics. But because certain Old Testament cats, like I say, they follow that Torah. Them brothers don't follow Torah at all. So you can't be no Old Testament Israelite and you not trying to follow that Torah. You're gonna walk around wind up being a wizard or something.
Exactly. Come. You know what I'm gonna tell? Start reading. Can somebody let Kevin G in? Start reading the Bible, getting into these scriptures. Start studying these scriptures, and you high as a kite. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Not
these
sober-minded.
but it definitely need to be sober minded reading the scriptures.
Can't tell the left your left from your right half the time. You know. Every time we look at you trying to quote scriptures with a blunt hanging out your mouth. Stop playing. Just stop playing, man. Stop playing. You know, it don't even make sense. Don't even make sense at all. So let me get to this next one. Let's move on to this lesson. Shout out to you, Kevin G. How often does Elyon appear in scripture? The compound name Elyon, translated God Most High or Most High God, depending on which English Bible translation you're using, occurs 12 times in the Tanakh.
Hey, can I be heard? Y'all guys can hear me all right?
Yes, sir. Shout out to you, Brother Shalom.
I word.
Yeah. The name first occurs 4 times in Genesis, in Bereshit, when the priest Melchizedek, Hebrews 7:1, meets Abraham upon his return following a great military victory. Now I had to throw some Melchizedek in here because we had, I ain't gonna even say, we had this witchcraft floating around talking about Melchizedek was a high priest of Molech. Now, this is what I mean when people get to a place where they can't see truth for the lies that they tell. You understand what I'm saying? Sometimes folks, they know what the truth is, but they lie to themselves or they tell so many lies that what they've done is they construct their own matrix around them. And then they live in this world of lies. And then they get to a point where they can no longer decipher the truth from a lie themselves.
Right. That's what it is. Because Paul says we got to endure to the end. So during some of that tribulation, you're going to come across some type of scripture you don't understand at that time. But you got to humble yourself and know that you don't know everything, and the Ruach HaKodesh will reveal it to you. So you got brothers like, that's over there. I can see that's the spirit that they have. That's why they separated themselves from the Most High, because they cannot humble themselves to not only let the spirit lead them, but let brothers lead them to, some certain understanding. So they like to be know-it-alls, and they get fascinated, by other books that they see, reading things that sound similar. So it's brothers are they unstable, man. They like a read, so the character is gonna, show forth in a person's doctrine, like, in my opinion.
Hey, so what's being talked about here?
We're just going through. We're dealing with the understanding of El and Elyon, and the different names, and how we see Yahweh clearly in the scriptures being referred to as El or Elyon, or El Elyon, or El Shaddai, or El Rohai.
Right.
We see these different things, and I keep these are descriptive names. These are descriptive terms.
Right. You could tell that the descriptive terms by the type of description they put besides the name. Like El, it's not just El by itself, like we would say God. Because it's what I don't understand is that I don't understand how people don't understand that. Like, for instance, when you say God in English, you can mean any type of God now.
Mm-hmm.
You could talk about Zeus, you could talk about Thor, you could talk about Odin, you could talk about Atum, you could talk about Thoth, you could talk about the God of the Bible. You could just be referring to any God. So like, I mean, all El is like a generic word for it. It's kind of like any Egyptian when they talk about like a determinative, like if you put the word sun or Ra, and then you have an image next to it of a god or an image of a man, that means that the determinative is talking about a god. Whereas if they talk about El or sun by itself, they actually talk about the sun itself. But I mean, the same can be found in any religion. I don't know who would disagree with that. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. And I was bringing up that very same point, talking about determinatives. I had a brother mention earlier about earlier today on one of the channels, he was saying that how Moses was really the god Tahuti, and then he talked about the baboon deity, or the baboon god that went up into the mountain, and how he began to scribe, Tahuti or Thoth began to scribe. I said, well, we understand these things, and when you're reading the Metanetta and talking about these determinatives, and when you see the baboon, that it was often used as a determinative. These weren't things that were meant to be related to actual people, right? But these were things that were adjectives that were trying to relate us to something. And so, like I said, we could see these things, these same motifs, across many spectrums of religion. Just using the term El is basically a misnomer. Just like how you were saying, brother, we use God today, right? It's a misnomer. So it could be applied to any deity. You see? And
Right,
so,
exactly. Right.
yeah, and until you get into the culture and the context of the writings, the scripture, understanding who the authors were, those that are known, and when you start to get into the politics and the history of the different things that were going on during those specific periods of times in ancient Near Eastern cultures, then we can start to see the delineations. We can start to see the carving out. We can start to see those who worship, how they worship, what they actually believe, their different practices they actually believe. People that lived in close proximity to each other often borrowed things from each other, right?
True.
That doesn't mean that you can almost even determine which one was of an origin and which one was not of origin. And see, a lot of times, just even when people talk about, I hear them talk about a lot about, migration patterns and different things like that. And people that set, and those things are important to look at, but those things don't always relate to ethnicity or ethnos. You see what I mean? That doesn't always translate to these are the people that came back first, because we see people were trading. They were bartering. I often tell people this. I often ask this question, even when we read about when Abraham goes into Kemet, right? And we all know the story, how he tells Sarah, his wife, tell the king Abimelech, or tell him that you're my sister, and different things like that. And we got to understand, what was the reason for him even doing such a thing, right? It's because, to me, he had to understand their culture. He had to even understand their politics. He had to even understand their language. So this wasn't a people that was foreign to him. These people were always intermingling, trading. They were aware of each other. And we tend to read history compartmentalized a lot of times. And that is not history, right? It's not compartmentalized. People were always in contact with people from various cultures, various belief systems, various ideas, right? And so we sort of get, for lack of a better term, we get lost in the translation of it all. But it takes careful study and time, right? And so, we have to keep these things in mind when we see, some of these terms and different things like this, especially when it comes to these descriptive names that are being used, right? And so again, let me get back to Melchizedek, right? It says Melchizedek, king of Salem, I believe that was, I had Genesis 14, 18 to 23, but I'm gonna start at verse 18. It says, then Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was priest of what? God Most High, or Elyon, which we've gone through enough scriptures to see that Elyon or Elyon or Yahweh was also referred to with the descriptive term Elyon, as we read in Psalms 7 and 17, Psalms 83 and 18, Psalms 97 and 9.
Right. See, the thing about it is that so it looks like it's denoting the Most High God. Like we know that there were other L's,
Right.
other gods out there, and God Himself actually, or El Elyon, He actually Himself acknowledged that there were other gods and other powers. He's just the Most High power.
That's
I mean, really, all these terms there aren't anything that you would how should I put it? They're not internal.
right.
God to the perspective of God and them. They don't call each other that, but we refer to them as that because how we understand it and how we look at it. But like I'm sure they understand it a lot differently than how we putting it together. But I mean, like, yes, it's very interesting to see that hierarchy, and how it's put together like that. That's pretty cool. Did anybody have anything to say about this? Were they saying that it was false, wrong?
Well, we haven't had anybody to even really say about that. I mean, I'm just picking this up off of the conversations that we've had for the past month or so about dealing with this term that El Elyon being used as like this as this proper name. As the God and the God alone, distinct and separate from the understanding of who Yahweh is, which I believe, in some aspects is more so a family name. But we see that, we see that throughout various scriptures, we see Yahweh, being described as the Most High. It's just clear. And are we saying is he the Most High in this sort of henotheistic or pantheon of the deities? Is he the Most High God, and is there a El above Yahweh? Well, we see a connection. We see Yahweh and El working together in concert. If we don't see them working as one, we see them as Yakad, or working together, or in unity, or as one.
Right.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, that follows the same theme. Like we read in the beginning, it says, "Let us make man in our image and likeness," and that's that whole thing. They did work as one. There was one confederacy among them all. But the Most High God is all. That's why we refer to him as the Father, because he's the father of other sons, other elves. That's why we see in Deuteronomy when it says that he will divide the nations among the sons of, or the B'nai Elohim. And we see the part in Psalms 22 when he says, "You are like princes, but you will die like men," meaning that this is a path that these other elves have chosen, and that he is the Most High El. So I mean, like, I just thought that somebody had anything to say about, or if they were against it, and they don't really understand the concept of El. I mean, you got to be somebody that don't study or understand anything within the Shemitic language to know what El truly means or what it is.
Right.
Like, still trying to say that El is a proper name, like they never studied it. Period. Right. They never studied it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, it just it's like I said, it's I was bringing out the point earlier that sometimes you can read words off of a page and walk away with no comprehension, and walk away without having gained any knowledge, not 1 ounce of increase in understanding.
And you know what's crazy though? Because when them brothers be showing them statues of El, they all don't even be the same one.
No, they don't.
And I be thinking like, if you don't know, and like I told him today, if you look at it, there is not one text that you see that says Elyon in it. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to outer source out of the Bible. And when the text that you do see is dated, and it's not even real, we don't even know what that is. It's dated to 750 BC. You see what I'm saying? So you would think all these thousands of years, at least they would have had something that would have said Elyon on it, but it says El and not Elyon. And so I'm somehow the pure when you just get off into this pure ratchetness and niggerdom, it gets ridiculous, man. But let me use my
You
I don't
know,
know where it is, but it is what it is, though.
right. You know, there's a German biblical scholar out there named Julius Wellhausen, and in his studies, he actually found that El Elyon is actually the ancient god of Salem.
Mm-hmm.
The ancient god of Salem. Now, when we look at Melchizedek, he was what?
The priest of the Most High, Elyon.
Right, but he was also what? What? He was the king of Salem.
King of Salem.
Right. So, like, the thing about it is that then you start to see the connection together, because you see the priest of Salem, and then from Julius Wellhausen's studies, he found that El Elyon was the ancient god of Salem, meaning like that's why they use the term Jerusalem when naming the city and stuff, because this is his portion. This is the one. This is the nation. Salem is the nation that he is rendered to himself or accommodated to himself. And so, like, I don't know, man. Like, like when it comes to stuff like this, I really don't understand like why people will have an issue with this if they just took the time to actually study what it means. Like, for instance, like I just found out by reading here that the root of Elyon could also be pronounced Allah, and that's where the Muslims get their term Allah. But they attributed that name to one of the pantheon of their gods.
Right.
It was the most god's sin.
But see, here's where you got to be careful at, though, because every time these scholars talk about Elyon, they basing it off of the Bible.
That's right.
Because if I'm telling you, cite me a text, something you read it or something that says Elyon on there, where's it at? I need it. And I guarantee you they're going to suggest, it has been suggested, assumed, possible. And when you look at it, the main thing that they're using of Elyon goes back to the Bible. Now, when you do the like I said, the only thing that comes close to when you start looking at Elyon, right, is in 750 BC. Otherwise than that, and you can go look it up, because I was looking and then it says citation needed. Well, why do you? Because it ain't there. That's why.
That's
you need
right.
to find that source. But otherwise than that, whatever any scholar is ever suggesting, they're suggesting it as what they see in the book, as using that as a compass, because they can't cite anything else because it's not there. You're gonna see L there, but you're not gonna see Elyon there. That's just bottom line. I was looking, I said it's not even. Where did they get that from? Where's Elyon at in any one of their texts? It's not there. So y'all need to stop saying Elyon and say El, because there was many of L's, but when you say Most High or Elyon, that is not nowhere in any text, and the only text that you see is in a I believe it's an Arabic text or Aramaic text.
Aramaic.
And that's it, bro. And guess what? We don't even know. They don't even know what that is.
They don't. They do
All
not.
right, so wait a minute. Are you suggesting
I'm actually about to bring that out, that very point.
Are you saying that we shouldn't use the name?
No, we're using it because we're familiar with our text because it's in our text.
Okay,
That's why we use it.
got you. Okay, I was trying to get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great segue because that's exactly what I was getting ready to get into about this whole thing. And I think another great point you brought out, G-Con, is this. When you're studying these things, you have to ask yourself, where did they get this from? Because see, that leads me, see, that's how I find things. And sometimes I have to catch myself when I'm talking to on these panels sometimes, or when I'm talking to people and I say things and they be asking me, well, where did you get that from? You see what I'm saying? Or they be thinking, well, where did he get that from? And you know what I'm saying? Because I've read it or I've studied it somewhere. And I forget sometimes, not being prideful, but sometimes I'll be speaking things that they haven't studied that, or they haven't read that, or they don't know where they got that from. Just like your boy Lex Vortex, I said I wasn't gonna mention his name. But like your boy Lex Vortex earlier, he posted in a back chat, why does El have on Osiris crown? I said, because that's Osiris. What do you mean? But they telling you it's El. I said, but when you look, when you at different periods of time, all that they were saying was using that word El as a misnomer. I said, but you're looking at Osiris. That's a depiction of Osiris. That's not the god El.
But it seems like the only way he was able to make that mistake if he's taking El as a proper name.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's what it comes down to.
That's what it comes down to.
They get it through their head.
That's why they can have El listed in the region, because it was a vassal of they were tributaries of Egypt, and some of them have El as we see as their god, but as the image of Osiris, but some of them have El as the image of other deities like Baal, and all of these different deities. These are Els just as well too. Now look, what they don't understand is, do you guys know when I pull up that Gabel El Arak knife, on that Gabel El Arak knife, guess what? He's also called El too. They don't know that though. The one who's wrestling on that knife, he's called El too.
See, and it's clear and basic. Listen, it's at the most basic level. It's not even hard. Listen, you don't even have to dig deep to see this. But they're so bent. Listen, their problem is that they hate everything about this book. They hate everything about God. And what they really hate, what they really problem is, they hate the Messiah. And so everything that they study, it takes them off into that vein. And so now that's all they study. They study to disapprove instead of studying to approve. And so when you do that, you automatically study and you create these fallacies, these logical fallacies, and you start to follow them until you follow them enough, you create a truth for yourself. Strictly built on these logical fallacies, on these baseless arguments. You know? And so let me get through some of this right here. Psalm 78 and 35. It says, they remembered that God, Elohim, was their rock. That God Most High, Elyon, was their redeemer. Psalm 78 and 56. But they put God, or Elohim, to the test and rebelled against the Most High, Elyon. They did not keep his statutes. Psalm 78, 56. Let me read Isaiah 14 and 14. I will ascend above the top of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High Elyon. Now, I was talking about that duality and meaning in the scriptures there, but these are things that we understand that these was descriptive terms, not prophet name. And so if we go into Psalms 78 and 10, Psalms 7 and 10, Psalms 9 and 2, Psalms 57 and 2, Psalms 78 and 35, which I just read, Hosea 11 and 7, and the Brit Hadashah, Mark 5 and 7, Luke 8 and 28, Acts 16 and 17, Hebrews 7 and 1. El Elyon is the highest power. I'm about to close this thing out. El Elyon is the highest power. The phrase, and this is what I bought this in here because I was bringing out that Daniel 11, verse 37 through 38, and it talks about the God of the forces. Or in some translations, it says fortresses, but in the King James Version, it says forces, the God of the forces. And it talks about this spirit of Antichrist, or this actual Antichrist being, or this person that is to come. And I was bringing out last night to some other brothers, when you start getting down into the verses, you clearly see where it is talking about Antiochus, the fourth Epiphanes. But when you get down to the latter verses, it starts talking about how this person would not revere the God of his fathers. He would not have a desire for women. He would exalt himself above all other gods. And so when you start studying Antiochus Epiphanes, you start to see that that is not descriptive of him, because we know he worshiped many false gods. We know he worshiped Apollos. We know Antiochus Epiphanes worshiped Zeus. We see these things. So we know when we get to those later verses that it wasn't referring to him, but it was referring to this king to come, or referring to this Antichrist to come. And so when you talk about may the force be with you, it has become a part of our popular culture vernacular, another term that people use frequently and without threat of antagonizing or alienating anyone. It means a higher power. So in religious circles, some see those two terms as being offensive to the Most High, as they or God, as they think they deny his existence. But do they? Now let's look at this really. For many who claim to be messianic, not because they've accepted Christ as a savior, but because of what they aren't. They aren't Buddhist, we aren't Hindu, we aren't Muslim, we aren't atheists or whatever. God is essentially the same as the higher power or the force. They all refer to a metaphysical, omnipotent, omnipresent, indescribable, and impersonal energy. The only difference is that those, let me go back over here. I'm gonna come back and read that. That those who deny his existence or who want to be their own God can use words like the force and the higher power without violating their need to claim self-existence. God's word, however, says that Yahweh is the most high God. That means he is stronger than the strongest force, higher than the highest power, the answer to every question, the superlative, all-encompassing, all-surpassing God. His dominion is everlasting. His kingdom endures forever. Daniel 4:34. At the end of that time, I, Nebuchadnezzar, watch this, raised my eyes towards heaven, and my sanity was restored. Then I praised the Most High Elyon. See, some of y'all got mental issues. Y'all need to raise y'all eyes towards the heavens and pray to the Most High God, Elyon, and not these other weird deities or praying the Lex Vortex or whatever he got you praying to, telling you to throw the book away. Right? I honored and glorified him who lives forever. His dominion is an eternal dominion. His kingdom endures from generation to generation. All the peoples of the earth are regarded as nothing. He does as he pleases with the powers of heaven and the peoples of the earth. No one can hold back his hand or say to him, "What have you done?" Daniel 4:34. He is the supreme authority, which no power in the universe can challenge, question, or conquer. No external force can cause him to change his mind or alter his plans, but he has the absolute ability and authority to exercise his right according to his will. And I believe it was Kay Arthur said it best when she wrote about the name Elyon. If God is not sovereign, if he is not in control, if all things are not under his dominion, then he is not the Most High. And you and I are either in the hands of fate, whatever that is, in the hands of man or in the hands of the devil. God is sovereign and he is in absolute control. Our world may feel like no one is in control, but please know that Elyon has perfect control over all that happens in this world, and nothing happens that he does not permit. Do you acknowledge him as the Most High? Rest assured that you will bend your knee to him one day, either by compulsion or conviction. I encourage you to begin today. And so again, Psalm 7:17, I will give thanks to Yahweh because of his righteousness. I will sing the praises of the name of the Lord Yahweh, Most High Elyon. Psalm 7:17. Let's not get it confused, people. For the Lord Yahweh, Most High Elyon, is awesome, the great king over all the earth. Psalms 47:2. Right? So let me go back, and then I'm going to try to close this